Daniel Harper was 40 years old and living proof that discipline could manufacture success. By the time most people his age were still figuring things out, Daniel had already built and sold one startup, launched another, and secured long-term contracts with companies most people only read about in business magazines. His name appeared in regional tech publications. His LinkedIn posts gathered thousands of reactions. Investors returned his calls within minutes. He lived on the 38th floor of a glass tower overlooking Lake Michigan. Floor-to-ceiling windows, neutral tones, minimalist furniture that looked untouched, everything in its place. His life ran on calendar alerts and quarterly projections. He didn't believe in chaos. He believed in control. Ava Collins was 22 and still undecided about who she wanted to become. She had graduated with a communications degree that felt more like a placeholder than a plan. She worked temporary jobs, events, marketing gigs, hostess shifts, while watching friends move back home or rush into graduate school out of fear of standing still. She met Daniel at a charity fundraiser downtown. He had been invited as a donor. She was there pouring champagne for guests who wore watches worth more than her car. When he asked her what she planned to do after graduation, she didn't give him a polished answer. She shrugged and said she didn't want to wake up at 40 wondering where her 20s went. That answer lingered with him. No one had spoken to him that casually in years. Within weeks, he invited her to dinner. Not to impress her, at least that's what he told himself, but to continue the conversation. The restaurant overlooked the skyline. The wine was selected without prices being mentioned. The waiter addressed Daniel by name. Ava noticed everything. She wasn't intimidated, but she was curious. Daniel found her curiosity refreshing. She didn't ask what his net worth was. She asked when he last took a day off without checking email. 3 months later, she moved into his apartment. Friends had opinions. His colleagues raised eyebrows. Her roommates whispered warnings. Daniel dismissed it all. He told himself maturity wasn't measured in years. Ava told herself opportunity didn't come twice. At first, the relationship felt effortless. Daniel introduced her to experiences she had only seen online. Private flights to Napa Valley. Weekend stays at 5-star resorts. Shopping trips where she no longer checked price tags. He paid off her student loans without making a show of it. He framed it as support. She framed it as relief. But slowly, subtle differences began to surface. At corporate dinners, Ava sat beside men who debated valuations and acquisition strategies as if the world depended on it. Their wives wore polite smiles and diamond bracelets. Ava listened, smiled, nodded, but she felt like a guest in someone else's future. Daniel noticed her silence and interpreted it as elegance. He didn't see the distance forming. Ava began going out more often with friends her age. Music festivals, rooftop parties, late-night diners after midnight. Daniel rarely joined. He had early meetings, investor calls, flights to catch. He told her to enjoy herself, but he expected her to return to his world unchanged. She started texting someone from the gym, Ethan Miller, 24, personal trainer, easy smile, no board meetings. At first, it was harmless conversation. Shared jokes, memes, complaints about Chicago traffic. Ethan didn't talk about growth metrics. He talked about music and weekend road trips. Daniel sensed a shift, but didn't address it. Instead, he upgraded the relationship. A new bracelet, a planned trip to Europe, conversations about buying property together. He mistook escalation for intimacy. One Thursday evening, a client dinner was canceled unexpectedly. Daniel decided to go home early, something he rarely did. The elevator ride felt ordinary. His mind still half in spreadsheets and forecasts. When he opened the apartment door, the lighting was dimmer than usual. Soft music drifted from the bedroom. 2 wine glasses stood on the kitchen island. Daniel paused, not out of suspicion, but calculation. He walked down the hallway with controlled steps, the same way he entered negotiation rooms. Prepared, composed. The bedroom door was slightly open. Inside, Ava sat on the edge of the bed, laughing softly. Beside her was Ethan. No panic, no scrambling, just familiarity, the kind that doesn't start in a single night. The room fell silent when Daniel stepped inside. He looked at Ethan first, then at Ava. No raised voice, no dramatic gestures, just a long, measured inhale. For the first time in years, he had not anticipated an outcome. Ava stood up slowly. She didn't cry, didn't beg. She said she hadn't planned for it to happen this way. She said she hadn't planned much at all. She admitted she felt more alive in conversations that had nothing to do with market performance. Daniel listened, not defensively, not aggressively, just analytically. He asked one question: was any of this real? She answered honestly, yes, but it wasn't enough. That sentence echoed longer than any accusation could have. Ethan left quietly. Ava packed a suitcase that night. No screaming, no broken objects, no social media drama, just the quiet dismantling of something that looked perfect from the outside. By the end of the week, she moved into a small apartment with a friend. Daniel remained in the high-rise. The city lights still reflected against glass walls. His schedule remained full. Investors still trusted him, but something subtle had shifted. At work, he began noticing how often he framed relationships like transactions. Input, output, return. He realized he had approached love the same way he approached acquisitions. Identify potential, invest capital, scale results. But people weren't startups. They didn't grow on command. Months later, at a networking event, a younger colleague joked about dating a woman half his age. Daniel forced a smile, but he didn't laugh, because he understood something now that no financial model had ever taught him. You can fund someone's lifestyle. You can provide security. You can engineer comfort, but you cannot manufacture alignment. And when ego replaces curiosity, you don't lose control, you lose connection.